Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carnival of Randomness. We're in Stratford-upon-Avon. I don't know where Zach is. He's over there somewhere. What are you doing?
I'm like almost upon Avon.
And you know, people sell out. Well, we're where the Bard came from, and we were going to open a bakery called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern or bread. But I decided I got tired of the dough we were making, so I went on the loaf and quit. But I wanted to talk theater and some other things. Who comes going by in a costume? Patrick White,
oh, hello.
a well-known actor of Rochester.
And at East, you're trying to make a joke.
Oh, wow.
I tried
This is a
Welcome to hell. We'll be your guys.
Yeah. Sorry we grabbed you in
dough-raising
here.
experience.
But can you say just a little about yourself and your theater background?
Yeah, I went to school for theater, which my parents are very proud. And I've been in the local Rochester, New York. That's a place that I live in.
We're a thing.
Yeah. And I've been doing community theater for more years than I can count at this point. I've been on a little bit of a kind of self-imposed hiatus for a little while due to some stuff, but I am very proud of the community that we have and of more talent, pound for pound. I'll put it against any other city on this
Your pound of
on
flesh.
this planet. Yes, our pound of flesh.
Oh, I would speak to that, and we've done this before on the Carnival, but we have some amazing talent here, I think.
We really do. Rochester's one of those cities that I think tends to get overlooked because it's not New York, it's not Chicago, it's not L.A.
There's a point I'm going to make about that, actually. Vicky from Fox 45, I was out with her the other night, and she said, thing about Rochester, she feels it's a place for opportunity to start things. Because it's smaller a little bit, you can get the focus, and so you do have some really good talent.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would say it's a medium-sized city. You know, we're parked in between, Buffalo and Syracuse, which, I've seen what they produce, and they produce good stuff, and not any better or worse than what we do here.
Bill Kirchen, the rockabilly, dieselbilly writer, he told the high risers one time, he said they left them slack-jawed and trout-mouthed. That they said they wrote a song about, but he said, everybody in Rochester, you don't realize when you go other places, people don't have bands like this. I've had people move to Georgia, other places, say, Rob, when we were in Rochester, I could do something every night with theater, music.
Yeah.
Down here, I drink.
Well, and that's another thing about a medium-sized city. There's a lot. There could be the same number of venues, but not as many people reaching out to fill them.
Yeah.
Whereas you go down to a big city, Nashville or Atlanta, there's the same number of venues, but 6 times the amount of people that are vying for space.
Now, I played in my 6th grade play, I played Uncle Bunny Rabbit. That's the extent of my thing, and I did a little Hamlet in high school. But I played Uncle Bunny Rabbit, and that's my extent. But why acting? What got you into this?
Olivier's Uncle Bunny Rabbit is hard to match, but I heard you were close. So, but
why acting?
Why acting? Because I have a big mouth. I like to. I love attention. I didn't get enough when I was a child. I don't know. That's the usual reasons I think that people don't.
That's interesting you say that, too. No. It's interesting.
No, it's true. I mean, it's
because
kind of
there's
true.
almost like I've heard that, and I've also heard the contradiction where you'll get somebody you'll see them on stage, you go, wow, that person's got to be a writer. They're very, very shy, but it's almost like that's like our friend Tommy, who does music. He plays characters in his bands because he's a great guy if you know him, but otherwise he sort of has social anxiety. So it's almost the opposite.
Yeah, I'm closer to that. I'm the kind of person I can get up on. I have no problem getting up on stage if I have a character to hide behind. But if I have to go up on stage and be myself, like if I'm announcing, like I used to do, if I did curtain speeches for stuff I was producing, people will tell you, and Rob, you might have seen one or two, they're terrible because I just have a tendency to ramble and just want to get off stage.
Oh, great. We have you on the show.
Well, but I'm hiding behind
the afternoon.
Yeah, so we got to go.
Yeah, and on that note.
Well, I'm bad like that, too. Public speaking's tough.
It's the scary. Yeah, it's scarier than any. I guess it's said it's the number one fear.
I have heard that.
I get it, but who knows if that's true or not. They say a lot of things.
They will talk.
But that's always a question I ask. Who the hell are they?
Yeah, I ask that question every day.
That's
what they said. Well, who's they?
If I could get they in a headlock,
I know you've done lots, and he's a favorite of mine as well. Who doesn't love Shakespeare? And how did you really find him, get into him? You seem to you have a bit of a passion for him.
It would seem like I do. And the truth behind it was, I mean, I was terrified of Shakespeare when I was in school, and I didn't do a lot of it because, you know, it was a whole thing. Oh, they talk differently, and everybody, you know, people either know it or they don't, you know, and really the Shakespeare group in town, the Shakespeare players, was something I could get into. I had friends that were doing it, so when I just auditioned and I worked up from being, you know, 3-line bit characters to having a couple of, you know, juicy parts, and
You were the guy in corner drinking coffee.
No,
Yeah.
he was evening guard. Who goeth there?
basically, yeah. I mean,
Like, good job. Here's your $3.
Yeah, and sometimes you go back to that too. And another thing I tell people is just because you've gotten some good parts doesn't mean occasionally you're not going to have to stand in the back and, you know, play 5 people carrying beers and pikes and stuff, and that's fine. But you know,
I have a mixed feeling about that in terms of growing up reading it, because for me, a lot of so-called great literature, I didn't appreciate it when I was in my teens or anything. It was when I got older. I tell people you shouldn't read, for example, T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland or Ulysses till you're 30 or 40.
Or ever.
Because you're never going to
Let's be
understand
frank
it.
about
But for
Ulysses.
Shakespeare, there's a mix. You have to understand it, and they have these editions out now with modern language, but I think you lose the beauty of the words.
I find those, and I've differed.
But
with
you have
some
to
people.
understand
Yeah,
it, though, too,
I
obviously.
find those are nice to help. Those are great. Like, I find them as great, like, note-taking tools when you're really just going through a script, because there are, you know, and there are things that there are some references in some Shakespeare that's so arcane that people fight over what it really means.
Well, exactly, because it was written for a specific period of time, probably not much of which still exists in this
I
modern
can remember
era.
this. I played Hamlet in my high school class, and we just read it. I played the character. And we're doing the
that's
to
kinda
be or
what
not to be, or Stallone would do it, to be or not to be, or what.
To be or 063.
So I'm doing
that
it,
is
where
the
it's like,
bingo.
and if it had God not turned it,
I was waiting for an opening to do that joke.
That
I
is,
thought about it.
I'm going to steal the
Had God,
Please
not
do.
turned his can against self-slaughter, and the teacher would ask after I read various passages, now, what does he mean? Everybody would be blank, and I'm saying, well, he wants to commit suicide, but it's against God. But people didn't get it. And that's the thing, if you don't get it,
Yeah.
and I think you have to be older then, so... And
Well, it's the other thing too is when you hear people they will say, well, you know, they talk in Old English, and I said, well, can you understand it? Well, yeah, then it's not Old English, 'cause
Yeah.
that's a different language.
Right. I mean,
It's modern English. It's just
it's just antiquated English. as
it's a
word.
poetic style, and it's just, you know, and it's modern English. They use words you understand.
yeah, and I think there's so much, I mean, I think he's taken a lot from Ovid, for a lot of, you read Ovid, you know he loved Ovid.
I used to tell people that Shakespeare is one of the greatest writers of Ovid fanfic you'll ever find.
That's true, Ovid, because I read Metamorphoses. It became one of my favorite books, and I'm looking, well, I know who read this book.
They reference it in Titus Andronicus.
Yeah.
They reference just as like, oh, give me my copy of Ovid. I'm like, yeah, so we can read the rest of the story because it's
Yeah.
already in there. And he basically says it's just like this thing that happens in Ovid, kind of like he's
And then
going
also,
meta
you
on
forget
himself.
about, a lot of people don't realize how much historical fiction he's done. And you find out,
yeah.
I mean, the ones we know, Julius Caesar, obviously,
Right.
Richard the King, but some, like, there was a Macbeth fan. Macbeth's for real.
Yeah, there was a real Macbeth.
Coriolanus.
Yeah, these are all, and
Actually,
he would take poetic license with
Time
the
of
characters.
Athens. Well, when the clocks strike and everything, Julius Caesar.
Yeah,
I took a stab at that play once. I didn't do very well.
no, took several stabs in the back. Hey,
Oh, we're really going down
we're
today.
gonna- this is going-
But
this is going
Titus is one of his nastier plays.
Titus is fun. Titus, you have
Yeah,
to.
I know. I saw.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to finally do that, and we and I feel like the one thing you do, people have a tendency when they approach that play, because it's insane and bloody and ridiculous in a lot of ways. Don't play it as a dark. If you don't, you can play it as a dark comedy, and that's fine. But it's way better if you play it completely straight.
I wonder how the Julie Taymor one is now on Broadway. This one they're doing.
Oh, I don't know. I was at the. She did the. I saw the movie.
I did
That
like
was-
the adaptation with Anthony Hopkins and Jessica Lange.
Oh,
Who
dude,
Jessica
yeah.
owes her name to Shakespeare because he invented the name for the Merchant of Venice.
Lying?
True story.
Really?
Jessica.
Oh, Jessica.
Jessica.
So that's where that
Jessica? Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he wrote-
wow.
So
I
he
did not
invented
know
the
that.
name Jessica.
Every
I
Jessica
found it
I
on the
know.
bottom of a Snapple bottle.
So that could have
That's
been
what
true.
it might be true.
It probably is.
It's on the
but
bottom of a Snapple bottle. It's
Why would Snapple lie to us?
yes,
Exactly.
It's as true as the president. Maybe a little more.
I mean, it's true that he's the president.
Nah, we don't
say
say
that.
that. We don't want people to tune us out.
Nope.
This is to be fun. What character? Okay, we can do a little politics like that.
Bring it back.
No,
Bring it back.
no, this will be fun.
I know you guys
one
want.
political thing.
Don't get me started.
No, one political thing we'll do. Okay, one thing you can have fun with this. If Donald Trump was going to play a Shakespeare character, who would it be, and who would read the lines for him?
Oh God, wow, that's a good question.
Richard III?
No, Richard III. Richard III was very smart.
No, he was.
Okay, so Richard III, the actual Richard III, historically speaking, seemed to be a very good guy.
Yeah, he was.
Loved
They
his
should have
wife.
made him. It's like
he really got screwed
It's like
over.
Bernard Cornwell makes a lot of guys bad guys in his books because you need a bad guy.
Well, that's you
Well,
need a
and the
foil.
Tudors were in charge. You couldn't write an anti. You couldn't say that Henry Tudor was a. Notice that Henry which Henry is he? Oh my God! Henry Tudor.
Say Henry Tudor.
Yeah.
Third, fourth.
He does not get a play of his own.
You mean the 8th?
The Henry the Seventh.
No, they never did a Henry VIII play.
No, he did. Henry. There is a Henry.
There is
a Henry VIII.
That's right.
Another one that's takes huge tips from reality.
He does sequels too. He does like.
But Henry Tudor does not get his own play. He's only Richmond. In the end, he's the hero of Richard III, who shows up in Act 5, basically. And because he was king very briefly and basically stole his reign, there was nothing nice to say about the guy who founded the Tudor dynasty. So there's no play on him. There was nothing nice you could say. It was horrible.
Well, you only started the dynasty. You're not deserving of a play.
One of the
Well,
beauties,
that's
and
not-
I'll tell future people out there, take somebody to Titus Andronicus who might know Shakespeare but has never seen it, get their
good God.
reaction, because that happened to me. Because I remember her saying to me, wow, this is really... And I was like, I knew it because I'd read the play.
Like
Don't have any snacks at intermission.
it's I was lucky enough to get to play Titus, and he
Lucky.
Yeah, that's a word for it.
He murders one of his sons he murders one of his sons in the first scene of the play and kills his daughter in the last scene of the play.
Seems
and
right.
a lot of people in between.
And the thing is, there's a thing about Laurence Olivier when he cut off his hand in the one play and he's kissing his hand, and it looks like he's acting, but he's really listening. How'd you do the thing with the hand?
That was
a trade secret.
Oh no, it was literally just I just was behind a box. And I pulled my hand into my. It was just very, I pulled my hand into my sleeve, made a loud noise. It's the magician's distraction things. You're seeing this knife come down. You're hearing me scream, and you're seeing, if you're in a really bad place, you might see me pull my hand back. But
and who decided because there's a little twisting of time things in it because you do use guns.
Yeah, we wanted to evoke a kind of Nazis versus punks kind of feel to it. It was
Nazis must die.
Yeah, it was like fascists versus goth punks was kind of the original.
Remember in the
set at any
movie
particular
Alan
time.
Cummings doing broadcasting though? It's almost like the same thing where they do that leap of.
It's a modernish, no particular time setting.
I will try to explain it for you if you've never seen it. A general's coming back.
Oh no,
from
I
the
saw the
war.
Anthony Hopkins one.
Okay, he's coming back.
That
He
was
gets
a
basically
film?
tricked. His daughter gets raped. They cut her tongue out and take her hands so she can't confess, so she has to draw who. They get held horribly. The kids become quite the... They get their just desserts, so to speak. Not to spoil it.
Spoiler alert for this 400-plus-year-old work.
Yeah, get out and find that movie.
Read a book.
People call it his worst play, but I actually, in my own perverse way, enjoy it.
Not remotely his worst play.
I think they call it the worst play because it's probably his most unique play.
It was also very the kind of grim gratuitous violence was a thing at the time. It was almost like, okay, well, I got to make my splatter movie because that's what's playing this
Well, and
month.
essentially, you can't bastardize it and make shitty movies like Shakespeare in Love when you have everybody dying every 5 minutes.
No, but one of the ones I really enjoyed was
I love
Measure for
Tom
Measure
Stoppard,
when
but
you
not
made
that.
that. I really thought how they took Measure for Measure, they made it into a speakeasy at the beginning. They're singing songs and doing it.
That
I
was
really,
fun.
and I enjoyed that play because it really, I think, is a very good commentary on the modern world too, about basically the people who are so moral are full of shit. You can swear on here, don't.
Oh, okay, good.
And,
I
yeah.
click that button. We're okay.
And they're
was
full of,
just being
they're
an
basically full of it and people, and they're hypocrites. But I always loved, I think that message really holds true And people don't know they play as much either.
And it's it was just on the cusp of the Me Too era, which we would have had a whole other kind of modern topical subtext too. It's just this guy who is using his power to basically get a woman to screw him. It just like.
And I think that's a fascinating thing about Shakespeare is that something so old can be molded to the modern era.
How did
relatively
who
easily.
came up with the do it at that time period?
That was Judy Molnar who directed it. And it was a really cool idea.
I loved it.
It worked really well. But I love like immersive theater when you say, okay, we're all in this place, and then the action is happening within it, and we had people dressed up serving drinks and whatnot.
Well, Marcy, I have to, the little secret. Marcy's sometimes not secure about her singing voice, and I remember at the beginning they're singing, they're doing the speakeasy. Like, well, Marcy's not lip syncing; she's singing.
Yeah, no, she did, and everybody has their thing. That she's an amazing actress, and I think I think her singing voice is great, but it's what you have confidence in, what you don't, what you're used to doing and what you don't, and it's the same thing I have. Like, I sing, I haven't sung in a lot of shows, but I sing outside of stuff. So when I'm singing in a show, I forget words. I lose my place.
Oh, I won't say a friend of mine saying dreams at a show I saw and being Mr. Anal with music. She goofed up a verse and I just let it go with it. It's fine.
Yeah,
Just like one of their shows when they did the Springsteen thing when Mario did it. I told Marcy afterward, by the way, and I was like, I'm being really anal. I think anal lieutenant has a hyphen in this case.
But that's the other thing too. Like with Shakespeare, a lot of times too, it's like you really gotta get those lines down, because there will be people out there who know it. Not a lot, but there will be people out there who'll know it and will know when you mess something up.
But they always say, I remember, I guess, the band Rush, they were doing Temple of Syrinx, the song, and they would say, "We are the plumbers who come to clean your sinks." And Getty would say there'd be the hardcore fans who heard him like, "Don't even sing it if you're not doing it right."
Oh.
But how do you memorize this stuff?
I mean,
I always memorize it, because I always say that I can't remember when I come in here, keep the notes. How do you memorize all your lines?
It's one of those things. It's just everybody has a different technique that they use. Me, it's just drilling and drilling and drilling, and you have to take time out of your day to sit with the book, have no distractions.
Do you ever do it in public, though, when people wonder, what's this guy on? Because you're going around quoting Shakespeare.
Yeah, I tend not to do that. Just because if I'm in a public place, it's too many. I'm easily distracted, so I'll watch it. I'll go. It's just like I have to have every room with no TVs, no nothing. Just do it. And with Titus, I had a lot of lines to learn in a very short time. So and one would argue that I was still learning towards the end of the
I thought it was very good.
But it's hard. Professional actors get rehearsal day. They'll be rehearsing every day.
And remember too, if you're in a movie, they could say cut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't even. I mean, memorizing a line for a movie is.
There's a big difference between some are blended, some are very good actors, but there's a big difference between film actors and stage actors. In terms of talent, I think sometimes they'll seep through. They've got some very good, but otherwise you just get people who look good or make nice and they stink.
Well, if they have no
Keanu Reeves, probably nice guy, but come on.
I don't know. There's another one. Keanu Reeves historically is a guy who has been getting, crapped on his entire career, though still makes movies, and then all of a sudden with John Wick, everybody's just like, no, this is what he's going to do forever, and everybody loves it.
Well, I'll do my. Whoa.
Yeah,
dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it seemed like a bad man.
No, he is a good human being.
He just doesn't seem like he has any talent, though.
Well, there's a lot of people that have those weird golden statues in their house that don't have a whole
you realize
if you watch him drilling for, I think, John Wick 2, he was on a course where he had jump over a thing, jump through a window, pick up a automatic weapon, cock it, fired a bunch of targets, flip over a thing, and he does this and it's the most amazing. It's just like special forces trained looking thing.
Well,
and no talking, but
Zach would consider Daniel Day-Lewis the best modern actor.
I do.
And they said for the movie The Boxer, people said
Well, I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and people that know Joe Rogan has a very extensive martial arts background.
He's an MMA guy. Yeah,
and he said that Daniel Day-Lewis in The Boxer was like looking at an actual boxer. He said it wasn't an actor playing a boxer; it was a boxer. Like, he trained that hard.
Yeah, well, he's one of those guys that he has to do it 100% himself.
Oh, he said there's two guys that leaped out of him like that. Him and Denzel Washington in what the hell was the
Hurricane?
I think it was the Hurricane.
Malcolm X.
No, the boxing.
The that was
Hurricane.
The Hurricane. Yeah,
Hurricane.
because he was a boxer. Yeah.
He said Denzel and Daniel Day-Lewis looked like they could beat your ass.
Yeah,
probably
we shall
could.
see down the line, because I told Marcy to promise that she's going to play me if they ever do a movie on me. So we'll see if she can pull it off.
You know what? I could see it.
Yeah,
I could see it
too, MJ.
you know, she's a chameleon.
Start eating some cake right now.
Latter day Rob is much more
But
svelte.
that kind of an interesting thing about there are a lot of actors with Shakespearean backgrounds in movies you don't realize.
That's the prime example of that to me is Robert Englund.
Yeah.
For those of you who are blanking on that name, Robert Englund, most famous for playing Freddy Krueger and being in a lot of C-grade schlock horror movies.
Yeah.
However, is a trained Shakespearean actor, and you can see he is a good actor. It's just
he's also the guy.
but he's Freddy Krueger.
Apocryphal story. I think it's a true story about him. Buddies with Mark Hamill and said, "Hey, there's this movie you should read for." Called Star Wars.
Yeah,
William Marshall, who played Blackula.
Blackula.
You could just tell by the voice, so you can tell.
Yeah.
Trained Shakespeare because he has that projection.
That's to me when I saw people would ask me about Star Trek and Star Trek: The Next Generation, Shatner and Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart. And I said, the guy's voice, he's a Shakespearean actor. The voice, the projection.
Sir Patrick.
Both of them.
Yeah, they both are.
Of them.
But
William Shatner was
he was a Shakespearean.
He was a Stratford guy. He was basically the most renowned North American Shakespearean actor of his
That's
day.
why he says he does a lot of the emoting, because he's used to the stage
Well,
stuff.
yeah, and you have to, for stage, you have to really over-emote. It was like in old silent movies when you couldn't rely on your voice.
He have to hear you in the back rows.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. But for you, too, most challenging part so far for Shakespeare, do you think?
Most challenging? Oh, wow. I think are all pretty tough in their own ways. I played Lear when I was 35, which that was probably the most challenging, just because it's the role that people close their careers out with and not necessarily start their careers with. But I was doing it outdoors, and the audience was very far away. So
was it the Shakespeare in the
It was
Park?
it was at the Highland Bowl. That was probably the most challenging, just because it's a mindset that's tough to get into when you're still a young guy. Young guy, never been a father, never had to deal with a legacy that I wanted to pass on and things like that. But just the going insane, that's a real roller coaster.
And the thing about that, you're right. Sir Ian McKellen, Laurence Olivier. I remember Olivier did it when he was almost 80.
Yeah,
and that's one of those things at the end. I'm going to top
too.
my career by playing Lear, which is considered I think the most lines.
Yeah, it's like the icing on the cake.
It's actually really not. Hamlet is the most. Hamlet is the most lines. Hamlet is the most actual dialogue. Lear, surprisingly enough, is not in as much of Lear as you think he is.
But there's just something about the role.
It's the role.
And they always
its
say
speeches are great.
it's one of the most beautiful, but one of the simplest. It's one of the greatest plays ever. But all they say is he died. There's no big death thing.
Well, because he starts as kind of an awful guy, and he has to learn. He has to learn basically, after being this ruler, he has to kind of learn to be a human being. And by the end of the play, he's dealing with his biggest, the biggest regrets he ever had. He's holding his youngest daughter, who he really, really screwed over, and holding her dead body, and it's all his fault. And and just you have to go to this really, really dark place and then just die. Just bawl your eyes out and then die.
This is one of the but I just actually watched Orson Welles' Othello.
Yeah.
And that was interesting.
Yeah.
How do you feel though? I have this thing now. These guys playing in blackface too now. I know actually Olivier did it too.
Well, and everyone did it, and everyone did that, and it does not,
I don't think they meant anything. It doesn't. I don't think it's as horrible as doing these jackasses.
Well, no, it doesn't have the same social connotation now as it did, or then as it does now.
It's sort of.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't want to open that up to general commentary. It's a thing that happened.
Bring it on,
it made
Internet.
me think about that because I'm looking at this, going, wait a second. Why can't they? Denzel Washington would be perfect for that.
Yeah.
Yes, he would be. Because that man can act.
Denzel, Denzel is everybody has their kind. Like Denzel also knows, like he knows his lane as an actor.
He's a smart actor.
Yeah,
in addition to a good actor, he picks
Fences.
really
I
good.
saw Fences, and he did very good.
And
job.
actually, I think Daniel Day-Lewis is exactly the same, which is why he did his retirement the first time and went to make shoes in Italy, and then came back because he found a role that spoke to him.
There's some actors, they don't have a lot of talent, but they know what they're good at, and they stick to that stuff.
I would really love to know what's actually inside Daniel Day-Lewis'
You know what
head.
it is?
I feel like
it's probably very boring. Because if most actors are the opposites of what they portray, he's probably like real boring.
I've never been a big
offense,
method
Sir
guy
Daniel.
myself, but that whole it's like. It's the Olivier talking out Dustin Hoffman on the set of Marathon Man. It's like a try acting,
boy.
Yeah,
it's so much easier.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember that I've used that.
But then again, you look at some of that old,
you hear these
old
stories
Olivier
of some
stuff,
films
and it's
too. You hear some of those things where they didn't get along on set because somebody stayed in character and they were a real jerk or something.
Yeah, I understand why people who are playing difficult roles feel they need to stay or stay in character, want to stay in character, because some characters are very hard. It's such an antithesis to yourself that it's very hard to pull up and conjure.
Gene Wilder said at one time, like for example, if he had to hit a woman, so I couldn't see playing a rapist because I just couldn't do it. Even I know it's not real,
right.
I just couldn't feel comfortable doing something like that.
Yeah, everybody has their limit. People won't. Yeah, it's just like I've had to play some roles and done some pretty despicable things. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't yet reached a line that I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that.
I wouldn't want to do Ned Beatty's scene in Deliverance.
Well,
yeah, that. It's a shame. Like that movie, everybody remembers that bit, but they don't remember the rest of it.
No, I've read the book.
Yeah.
And they don't remember that the movie was just kind of a movie.
But you're going to go through life when you do that scene. That's all you're going to hear.
Right, but at the same time,
apparently don't ask Ned Beatty about that scene.
Yeah, it's like don't ask Ed Harris about
The Abyss.
Because that's when he punched out James Cameron. Not slanderous, documented.
Do you have anything like a dream role?
Stuff they got put through a lot.
Yeah. That's what I mean. He walked up because I can't remember who the co-star was, but she almost drowned.
Mary Ann Mastrotoni.
Well, that stuff, that goop they put him in was real.
Yeah, and he walked up and just punched Cameron right in the face and knocked him out.
I have an issue with the idea of the director who puts an actor through hell. Kubrick, Friedkin, those guys.
Kubrick was
Tarantino.
Notorious.
I think that is. I'll patent bullshit. If first of all, if you have an actor who can't act like they're in jeopardy by being unless they're in actual mortal jeopardy, you should not have cast that actor,
right?
Because they can't do it. And if you need to torture them to get a good role out of them, you should not be directing them.
I'm sorry about pulling the whip out before we started this with you.
Oh, well, that's okay. I requested.
I never did that, right? I never did that.
No, Zach knows about the whip.
One thing
don't forget Kubrick did meet his match on one of his movies in the form of Arlie Ermey.
Yeah,
Arlie got away with everything that Kubrick hated. One take. No script, screamed at him.
Yep.
The famous incident when Kubrick asked him something and he screamed, "You will stand on your feet when you speak to me." And he got up and snapped a salute to him before he realized what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, because at the heart of it, Kubrick is just this kind of slovenly, nebbishy, New York guy. And
you realize he's actually seriously related to him in a way.
On the other side of my family, there's a distant cousin to the Kubricks.
Yeah.
And I made a trade. I traded the rights to one of my cousins and a case of beer to claim that I'm Kubrick's cousin. So it's in the
tracks. That
bloodline
sounds-
on the other side, but I swapped a cousin.
Plus,
and a
I heard he had
beer.
a thing where
That
he would
sounds,
make you.
that sounds
He would
like a real
make you
thing.
do like 120 takes.
Yeah, he was
Oh,
notorious
yeah, no, yeah,
for
he
the
would,
multiple
he would.
takes. But like I said, Arlie maybe 2. That's
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah,
And then he let him alone.
and according to everyone, they had worked on his dialogue ahead of time together
Yeah.
to decide what he was going to say, but then he had to just keep doing it and keep but I also think that if you're looking just purely between a guy like just a human being like Stanley Kubrick and a human being like Arlie Ermy,
I mean, you got
this
two
hardened
you got
Marine
two Type A personalities that are going to clash.
But then you look at the physical types, and you just have to boil it down to that. We're like, this guy will kick the shit out of me.
Like he would have beaten him with his own
Well,
director's chair.
you've done other things besides Shakespeare. I know that.
Oh yeah, no, I've
seen a bunch of
I've done.
titles.
The last non-Shakespeare thing I did was a play called The Whale, which is a relatively new play, which I was very happy to do. For Out of Pocket Productions, which is a company I can't say enough good things about.
Oh, I can't either. I know.
I love them so much, and they consistently put on really good stuff you don't see anywhere else, and and their proceeds go to different charities, which is great. I mean, it's good on so many levels. It's good artistically. They're good. Philanthropically.
That's what I gotta say about
they,
so
they
many
do
people,
a lot with a very little.
So many of the people I know, you do challenging
Production
work.
wise.
You don't just do. It's not the local production from it's something.
Yeah.
The material's like, damn.
Do you see Yankee? Do you see Yankee Tavern?
Yeah. I
Holy
tend to try to
mackerel.
get to most of things.
Yeah, holy mackerel. Yeah, that's one of the. It's just like at the beginning you
Kate
think,
Aaron involved in that one? I forget. Kate Aaron Howard. Is she in there? I get them mixed up. I get them mixed up sometimes.
no, she wasn't involved in that one.
There's so many of them.
There's a lot of I know. There's
BBC.
I honestly I didn't know really anyone in that show except for John Yeager. Everybody else were people I just familiar faces to me, but they were great. And it's one of those plays that starts out as this. Oh, this is kind of going to be a funny social commentary about conspiracy theories and 9/11. You get to the end of the movie like, holy mackerel, this got dark and intense really quickly. And I thought that was real. I really liked that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's the amazing. Do you have any roles for Shakespeare you'd like to play that you haven't? Listen,
I would love to
like-
play. I would love to play
MJ?
Macbeth. I would love to play. I would say I would love to play Hamlet. I would
His
love
wife
to try
had
to
his
play
wife
Hamlet.
had a
but,
problem
still
though
don't
with the
have
dog because Spot wouldn't go out.
it. Yeah, I know. No, out. Damn you.
Now, did you
Yeah.
see the MJ one when she did Hamlet?
Yeah, I was.
Were you there when we were there? I forget.
I've been in a. Let's see. I've been in like 5, I think, productions of Hamlet in some capacity or another. No, she's she's played Hamlet a couple of times actually.
Yep.
The first time she did it was over at New Life many years ago, and I played the Ghost, the Gravedigger, the First Player, the Butcher, the Baker, the Candlestick Maker.
It's a
Tinker
sound.
Tailor
It
Soldier
sounded
Spy.
good.
I
else
have
can we
played
throw in there?
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Rosenstern and Guildenstern, eh?
Guildenkrantz and Rosenstein, attorneys at law, and
Oh boy.
I think we're like a third of the male characters in Hamlet at this point, and then I said there's I'll only ever be involved in the show again on stage if I play Hamlet or get to direct it. There's because it's not out of like of an ego thing. It's just like those are the only things that would attract to me at this point because
the one at the Lyric Theater, I thought Alexis did a really good job as Ophelia. Everybody was good. And I thought MJ did a great job. And I was talking to MJ afterwards saying, the way you, all these years, you could still interpret this as so many ways. And the way I looked at the way you played it was he insane or was he playing insane?
That's I think the question.
And
that
she said,
asks.
do we...
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't know that about you either, if that's the case.
And he kind of says it, but at the same time,
It's like, is he just playing that to try to get these people to come out and admit it, or is he really lost it?
Well, it's also, and there's also a lot, there's like, Hamlet's not the only character that has a lot of questions you can ask about motivations. Yeah. I mean, Claudius, Gertrude, did Claudius do it for the crown, or did he do it for the lady? Was Gertrude complicit, or is Gertrude just being led?
Yes.
Is Polonius the mastermind behind the whole thing, or is he just a weird fuddy-duddy? Just like, everybody has. It's a great actor play because every character has a lot of questions that can be asked and aren't necessarily, spelled out.
I
in
think
the
it would be a
text.
role anybody would want to play because you could put your own spin on and so many.
Yeah.
One of the ones I like the Ethan Hawke version.
Yeah.
Sort of. Bill Murray's Laertes.
Bill Murray was Polonius.
Polonius.
Yeah,
excuse
he was real. Yeah, I liked him. I liked Bill Murray. Honestly, I think Bill Murray was one of the only things I liked.
He was sort of like Gen Xer's depressed Hamlet.
As purely an actor thing, I thought the fact that the big monologues were all like voiceover was a huge cop out. It was just like, dude didn't even need to learn the lines. I mean, how can you play Hamlet when you don't need to? He could have been reading all that.
Yeah,
He
and it's
could-
on
there's
film.
no way
It's
that-
on film too, so they could get cut.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of it is voiceover. A lot of it is just like that. There were kind of cool ideas for whenever you're adapting Shakespeare into the modern day. You have to make choices of what's going to be what's first of all, what's going to get cut. And the number one thing when before anything else, before considering casting anything else, if you're putting on a Shakespeare show, edit is the first thing you need to do. And if you ever have the opportunity, if someone says, and you're producing a Shakespeare show, and it's most shows except maybe Macbeth because it's very short, and they say, no, I don't want to cut a single thing, you say, yeah, you want to think about that again. If you don't edit Shakespeare, and I know like there are people that will fight me on this, but it's just like
Bring it on, internet.
yeah, and that's another thing too, especially for like a community theater, so purely community theater audience. You need to cut the shows down. You need to edit them, and it's purely because first of all, because he did it. There's not a definitive version of any one of his shows. He was constantly putting things in, taking things out, changing them, shrinking them, making them bigger as he performed them. And what we have, as the folios are just these are notes taken down by people who saw them. We don't have original manuscripts of this. We don't know how it was, it's like, so this is, so he did it. So there's no reason not to.
And again, you're not performing this for the Royal Shakespearean Society. You're at a theater in Rochester, New York. So,
Yeah.
you don't have to be completely historically accurate for as much as we know.
If
about
you
it.
want to be, that's
hell no.
fine. But you have to know that your audience is going to be aware that you're doing a 4+ hour version of Hamlet. You're probably not. They know it. You're probably not getting as big an audience as you want, because that's a lot to sit through.
That's the thing.
Yeah, it can be. One of the things, though, they're timeless, though. His work is just so open to... If you go back even, you could pick anything out of head. All the 1990s, like, teen comedies, she's all that... They're Shakespeare.
Yeah,
It's Taming of the Shrew.
It's all based on
They're-
Shakespeare
yeah.
in some way.
Because they're archetypal stories. He wrote archetypal stories. He was informed by archetypal stories. He copied archetypal stories. He rewrote archetypal
100
stories.
Acres is a movie in the 80s with Jessica Lange, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jennifer Jason Leigh. It was King Lear in the country, basically.
Yeah. And King Lear's another one that gets done in some form or another, like Empire is King Lear. Sons of Anarchy was Hamlet.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones was first and foremost the War of the Roses. Wars of the Roses informed, you see George R. R. Martin just took, if you look at Westeros, he just took England, he made it the size of South America. And that's what that is.
With dragons and a lot of
With
violence.
And
With dragons that may or may not show up.
oh, they show up.
They show
Oh,
up.
they
I
show
don't
up.
know. I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Daenerys Targaryen.
Come at
she's
me,
my-
internet.
Daenerys Targaryen. She's the Khaleesi's my favorite character.
In the first 2.5 books.
Well, I will say this. While I may not watch it, I am still and always will be a huge Peter Dinklage fan.
Oh no, he's great.
That man can act his
Yes.
ass off.
He's a national treasure. Yeah, it's a
he should
cheesy
be.
thing to say, but it's true.
If he's not, he should be. But his
Yeah.
comedic work is goddamn hilarious.
The first time I saw him was I don't know if you've seen Living in Oblivion,
Yeah.
the Steve Buscemi movie. So it's a dream sequence. So they got to get a little person. You know, just
Well, the first time I saw him was the station. Was it the
Station Agent?
Which was a fantastic movie.
Tiptoes too. Tiptoes.
And then after that, I started seeing him in like more comedic roles. He was in what the hell was that one with Melissa
was
McCarthy?
actually-
Boss. The Boss.
Wasn't he in Alf?
Yes,
When he takes the
he
guy
was in
across the
Elf.
freaking board. He goes
he
across
was
the
an elf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we have you. You're always welcome to come back. But while we have
Yes,
you here, I know you
please,
like
sir.
other topics, and we'll get Mark down here too sometime. We'll have you two do a play for us. We'll cut you off at 3.5 hours.
Oh yeah, no,
But
yeah.
one of the things I know you're into, and we talked a lot about it. We talk about it. You know, I'm obsessed with is Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, Doctor Who is probably if I had to say my all-time favorite television show or television series or franchise of my Star Trek is Doctor Who, without a doubt. Good, bad,
Indifferent.
old and new.
Well, Star Trek, I got that because my grandmother. I remember.
Yeah, don't get me. I love Star Trek
I
too,
love
but
it.
I don't have the reverence for it that other people have. Like I really
be
like
honest,
Discovery.
I watched
and I
it.
get why OG Star
Get out.
Trek fans don't
Get out.
A lot
like
of
it.
people get mad
but
about that. I've never watched it. Don't really.
Of all the arc, I probably was a bigger fan of Deep Space Nine than any other.
Deep Space. Yeah, actually,
Deep Space
show.
Nine was a very good show.
Deep Space Nine was not afraid to like take on the shiny, happy Roddenberry future and kind of give it some tarnish.
Yeah.
You know, because as much as humanity is evolved, they're still humans. They're still going to be at the end.
Well, there's the other one. Well,
Bad people.
we cannot violate the Prime Directive, but if we don't do it, we won't have an episode. Let's go violate the Prime
well, exactly.
Directive.
Well, and that in and of itself.
Oh, look, we're going to get home. Oh, wait, no, we still have 9 more episodes this season. No, we're not.
That's
you
why
really-
Voyager killed itself because you
Yeah.
can't. You know they're not going to get home.
Right.
Yeah, unless it's going to be an episodic like Gilligan's Island kind of thing, you know. Yeah, it's just like they have to, you know.
Don't
You and if you're gonna bank the whole series on that and cut off the idea of going home, then that's gonna really shoehorn you really hamstring you. And if you could say like, hey, this is where it starts, and it goes where it goes, but that was coming out of the whole like
Dude.
people, you know, networks wanted episodic
Well,
television.
there was a joke about
They didn't want
Voyager
serial.
where the starship goes onto a different galaxy. They have the same kind of adventures it has in this galaxy.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
for Doctor Who, do you have a favorite? How do you think it's going now?
I love it. I love how it's going now. I think Jodie Whittaker is great. I think the stories are really good. I like this new showrunner. I love the companions.
I don't like how we have to wait a year. We don't know that season
Well,
comes out, but they've done that before.
That's British
right?
television
Yeah.
at heart.
That's
They
the
don't
thing.
they don't operate like we do. They don't
2-year
have these,
gap between
In a
4
way,
episodes.
that's not bad, though, you know, because they can take their time.
Well, also they
And
have,
it makes you really want it to come back.
Yeah.
Like if it comes back in 3 months, like, oh, this is back on. But if it's a year and a
American
half,
television is they have too many episodes, and that's what you
Yes.
still more and more of these shows that are becoming prestige show. You notice the seasons shrink,
And then they
you
also have the
realize
limited
they're
series, too. The limited series, too, where they say we're finally done. Where they
Yeah.
don't go on when you're going,
Well,
okay, this is ridiculous.
well, like prime example, because you and I are both fans of Luther, which is a great show.
Oh yeah,
With
Idris
yeah.
Elba.
I'd watch
Idris
Idris
Elba. Thank
Elba
you.
like walk down the street and just say hi to people for 2 hours. He's
I would,
riveting.
too.
But I think the fourth or fifth season of
One episode.
was 1 or 2 episodes,
Yeah.
and that was the season.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. That's another British thing too, especially with like the kind of mystery. Like they have this the mystery series were always like the so and so mysteries.
Midsummer Murders.
Yeah, this is the thing. We're like
4 episodes a season, but they were 2 hours
hours
movies.
long.
Yeah,
so
they were
they
Well,
were
like
movies, and that's-
Cumberbatch has said he'll do Sherlock as long as they want. I think they had 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he keeps doing them. And they're little movies like Doctor Who. Tom Baker did 42 movies, basically, if you
Yeah.
think about
Aren't
it.
him and Freeman kind of in a snit now or something? I don't know.
I don't know. I like that show. But did you,
Oh God, yeah.
for
Yeah.
Doctor Who, though, did you get into it with Tom or did you get into it
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of people my age. I'm 47, so I came in PBS Tom Baker. I saw Robot 900 times.
Did you
when I was,
catch
like,
it when they used to have it at 6 o'clock when they only did the half hour? Did you
Yeah,
catch it at 11:30 when they had the
Well,
movies?
yeah. When I was a kid, I would see it at the 6 o'clock when they would just do the half hours at a time. And when I was like preteens and teens, it was a Saturday night,
Yeah.
11. They play the whole thing.
Yep.
And I never saw an entire run of a Doctor Who episode from like 12 to 14 because I could never stay awake because it was just not because enjoying it. It was because they were just long and I was tired.
Well, I think Robot was one of the best intro ones ever.
Oh yeah. I think that's why they played it a lot.
Because that's a lot of them. The first episode's always he's whacked out. We have to get him. Then he pops up by the end. Oh, hi, and I'm the doctor, like Jody or whatever. Now she's all fine. Peter Davison, but Tom Baker just goes from the get-go. Tries on all the funny outfits.
That was hysterical.
Those
when he just keeps coming out of the what? No,
3 or 4 series like Robot, Ark in Space, all those are
Seeds
like
of Doom. I love Seeds of Doom.
If you're going to show
is that
anyone,
the end of the season one?
That was like I think it was a mid.
And it's Sarah James, so yeah, that's one of my all-time
favorites.
First
like 3 or 4 Tom Baker episodes. If you want to introduce someone to Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who, show them those ones because that's they're so good, they're so fun.
Because I actually never watched Doctor Who, but you did, our friend Mike did, a lot of people did. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start watching it from the beginning.
And then you got to wow, watching it from the beginning is hard because there's not a lot you can find.
Oh, see, that's the thing. A lot of the audio exists, and there's the dude on YouTube who I like, who recons. He takes the audio and does CGI recreations.
I haven't seen those. I saw the one.
Check them out on.
Have you seen the reconstructions they did like in the VHS days?
Yeah,
those are impossible to watch.
Yeah,
because they were just like still picture. You'd be like, I'm trying so hard.
You tried Shada, where they've got it out now, where they show the scenes. Then Tom Baker, he's there and he reads.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, somebody uploaded a couple of them to a place I find them.
I watched that one and it was fun.
But I'm on season 13, so that's Tom Baker's first season.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Robot. But I started with the very first episode with William Hartnell.
I like Pertwee, too.
Yeah, I think, honestly...
those first Pertwee episodes, when they did like 11-parters, wrap it up.
Yeah,
they were long.
I know. He was on there for 5 years, but he only did 24 episodes.
Because the series were very long. And they were doing them as they went along. So the stories went weird places. Like the one I think is Spearhead in Space is the one where all of a sudden they're in a negative universe with the evil brigadier for like 5 minutes and what is happening?
Yeah. What was the one that where they were facing off with Michael Gough as like the collector or whatever his name was, the game master.
I think
wasn't he the Celestial Toy Maker?
Yeah, the Celestial Toy Maker. It was a 4-parter. It was.
Was that Pertwee or was that?
That was Hartnell.
That was Hartnell.
Okay.
It was one of the later Hartnell ones. One episode exists.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the rest is the CGI thing, but it's really weird. It's like it's Alfred.
I saw the animated one they did, and they had as a Fathom event for it. The one.
And that's the thing. They're starting to release animated
Yeah,
reconstructions.
and that was fun.
And it's one of those shows. When you think of, wow, I have a topic, this can run forever because we could just change the actors every now and then. You could any story you want.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like they were like it was a huge risk to be like, well, this is either going to work. Or
it started as a children's show.
Yeah, it was definitely aimed.
The longest running science fiction show with that 18-year period that we didn't do anything, not counting.
Even so,
but even if you count,
they did a lot of audio episodes. They do.
There was always something going. There's always been something going on. There's been the Big Finish productions. There's been the
they do the radio opera, radio operas or whatever they want to call them. But,
and do you know also? We have to tell you, we met Terry Malloy, who was Davros. He's got a fixation with his stuffed dog, Teddy Bear.
Yeah, Monty.
He takes it everywhere. He took it to Niagara Falls.
Yeah, Terry Malloy, is he the one who...
He was Davros with Colin Baker.
Okay, yeah.
But he takes it everywhere. He actually had it redone. Follow him on Instagram. He takes it. He has him wrapped up in Niagara Falls.
There's a picture of Terry Malloy and Monty on the Maid of the Mist in Niagara Falls. Monty's got a little rain slicker on too, and he's like, yeah.
He's got his own thing going on.
He does what he wants, and he's a happy man.
But I always got into those.
And on top of that, a very nice human being.
I have no doubt.
I will attest to that.
But the other one, too, what are you reading? We talked about comic books a lot, but you were talking about, you were telling me I had to read something that was...
Was I? Oh, boy. I don't know.
You wrote to me that. What have you been reading? What do you like? If you still...
Honestly, I haven't really read comics regularly in years. I was never... the only real time that I was regularly reading comics was probably when I was in, up from,
something
junior high to I think I was talking about the Venture Brothers.
Oh yeah, that was
which is a show.
Oh, that's
they
what
did
you were
a graphic novel.
They
did a print
Have you
version
seen Venture Brothers?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I was going to say because I can't remember what it was.
Man,
you were posting. I can't remember what it was about, but there was something. There was a funny Venture Brothers take on something that you posted on, and I can't remember what it was now.
It'll come to you.
Yeah,
it'll come to you in about an hour.
In about an hour when
Yeah, after we're done.
Yeah, I know, always. But
We driving back. Son of a bitch!
I will. Well, I'm just going to go into Rob's feed and I'm going to find it because that's what this stuff possesses my brain, and then I have to know.
I do too. I get like I know I've been getting Mike Murray, all these people sending me stuff about the Orville.
The Orville is okay.
It's a good show. Don't take it seriously. One, because it's
No
Seth
kidding.
MacFarlane. But people, when it first came out, everybody was bitching about it. Like, oh, it's just a parody of Star Wars. And Seth MacFarlane came out. Yeah, that's the point. He's like, I grew up with Star Trek. Yeah, come at me, Internet. I don't care. But he said it's his homage to Star Trek, the old Gene Roddenberry episodes.
Yeah,
back in the day.
He's and the other thing too was it's not a goofy. It's not really a parody. It's not a goofy they tell the story straight. They have like a backstory that is completely straight,
sprinkled with comedy.
Yeah.
But unlike the old Star Trek, it was purposeful comedy, and not the fact that it was just so shitty. You had to laugh.
Plus, it refers to a lot of 20th and 21st century stuff. There's a ton of in jokes and stuff like that. Yeah. Why would they still be obsessed with stuff that was around in the 21st century?
I'm sorry, but because
that's the jokes you understand.
But the best line ever was when they take some hits and he yells out damage report like, we have multiple hull breaches, 2 engines are down, and Ensign Johnson spilled soy sauce on his pants.
Yeah.
Like he put that in a damage report?
I would say I didn't watch it much, but it sounds a lot of ways that it was akin to the British version of The Office, which was very... They would just play it like...
Right. It was dry. Yeah, it was very dry.
It's a dry, witty humor.
You had to put a ridiculous person in a real place.
Yeah, it's not overt fart jokes.
Yeah, no.
All the time.
And when it is, and when it tries to be, when it tries to be, it's one person doing it and everybody looking at them like they're out of their goddamn mind.
Yeah,
it's like
anytime Bortus does something, but he inserts it's one of the alien characters who has no sense of humor.
Yeah.
So he inserts himself into these weird situations, plays it deadpan, and it's goddamn hilarious.
And they introduced a character to comment upon modern sexual and gender politics without taking a quote-unquote side, just presenting it as it is. This is a race of all males, and they've basically bred themselves to be all male. They can reproduce, but whenever a female is born, they reassign them. They reassign their gender as male.
That's the beauty of sci-fi. A lot of ways is we could talk about really controversial things. A different planet has this issue.
That was
make an alien out of it, and nobody gets angry.
The Left Hand of God, Ursula Le Guin's book, where they're the different sexuality and everything. Yeah. It's got all these issues. So that's very good for sci-fi.
All these quote unquote new issues that have been around since man has existed.
Oh, you ever go back and you go back to some of these old campaign things from it's the same crap stuff.
Yeah,
same shit. Taxes.
Yeah.
I actually was watching the first season of All in the Family and some of the stuff they talk about, and it's the same crap now. We've done nothing about it.
Yeah, exactly. People are shitty. Yeah. Guess what?
There you go. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, people are shitty.
Yep.
You want to come back, do this again?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
all's well that ends well. Then.
Yeah. So this was your.
That's the extent of my Shakespearean.
I'm going to throw one more nerdy. I don't know I don't know if you've ever tackled this kind of things or these kind of people or otherwise. I'm a huge tabletop role playing guy.
We had Tommy Tommy Walsh. We had an episode on it.
Okay. I am always up to talk about that kind of stuff. If anybody,
we'll have you on. We'll do one.
Yeah. And eventually, I
have an idea
for where we can broadcast us playing games.
Oh, dude,
I want to get especially some of our more eclectic guests playing Cards Against Humanity.
But we also
just to see Jeff Bauman throw down a car and say pixelated bukkake.
He's one of our shyer guys. We try to get him to speak out more. Now, you'd be welcome to talk about one. I'll get in touch with you, find a day you can come and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing is...
I'm down to talk about anything.
But
I'm down to clown, guys. Down to clown.
No, we have an evil clown.
No,
God, I heard about that.
We gotta talk to him.
But the other one, too, is we have... This might be bad. We're going to get where we can pipe people in. And I'm going to be the referee. He's going to talk about Magic the Gathering with his cousin. Luckily, he's in Ohio because it's going to be a fight.
But now, because of Magic the Gathering Arena, we've been playing each other on the phone. And now, all right, Internet, if you're a little squeamish about language, cover your ears. We were playing the other day, And I'm on the phone with him because, you can't, there's no typing options in this game. So he lays down a monster card, and I immediately destroy it. And then there's a pause over the phone, and then I hear, you, sir, are a cunt.
Whoa!
And it's like, dude, we need to start live streaming this.
This is comedy gold, guys. You
I
cannot.
was like, because it's not what you say, it's sometimes the delivery, and it was like you couldn't have written it any better for a movie.
I got it. I got into that right at the beginning, and got out of that right when I needed to.
Oh yeah, we'll be glad to have
But
you.
no, we'll do table because that's something I want to tackle more. Is tabletop gaming.
Thanks for braving St. Patrick's Day. We had some guests who were scared, who were terrified to come out today.
And it's right. That's my name. Great, but I hate this holiday for so many reasons.
It's Bull anyways in Ireland.
Well, it's celebrating the.
This is not going to come out that day, but we're taping on that day.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
Breaking that illusion.
Fourth wall.
I'm not a fan of public drunkenness.
Yeah.
I have nothing against. I'm not a teetotaler.
No, we're not the kiss types.
But I don't. It's dangerous.
That's the thing, and it's not just dangerous for you; it's dangerous for everybody around you.
And plus, you're looking at two veterans who worked at bars who had to work the damn day.
Oh Christ!
God,
Parade day.
You shit medals. There's what you need.
I mean, you talk.
No, but it's people that
I would get angry on normal Saturdays.
It's ridiculous.
Well, it's also people feel like it gives them license to
be an asshole.
Just be complete pieces of shit, and
there
it's just but it's also like. You get back to the very core of it. You're celebrating the guy who basically brought Christianity to Ireland. Ruined the place.
Okay.
Ruined the place.
I have to say it. I'll have to do one bad joke. So this atheist goes on tour to Ireland. He's stuck at the border in Northern Ireland. And they're asking him all these questions. So they finally go, religion, Catholic or Protestant. He goes, what's your religion, Catholic or Protestant? He goes, atheist. He goes, but a Catholic or Protestant one.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'll close it out with one more. The Pope and the Queen are standing up, and the Queen says, I can make every English person in this crowd go wild with a wave of my hand. Pope says, prove it. She waves her hand, and the English crowd goes insane. The Pope says, I can beat that. I can make every Irish person in this crowd go wild simply with a nod of my head. She said, I'd like to see that. So the Pope turns and he headbutts her.
And on that, don't have a shamrock shit.
On that, this episode was sponsored by Upsitnik and Associates, lawyers
who we're
going to need because the internet's coming for me. Lawyers for us, for me, the people, from Alaska to Alaska to the Supreme Court, all points in between. Upsitnik and Associates on Facebook, upsitnikslaw.com. Pat, you have anything you want to plug?
Go see.
I know he's got nothing to.
I got nothing to plug myself, but
eventually we'll do.
When you have something to plug, come
go
on back.
See anything. Go see community theater. Go see anything. There's stuff going on now. Stuff coming up.
Who was the company you really liked?
There's tons of out-of-pocket productions.
Out-of-pocket productions.
They'll have a show coming up soon. I believe called Apocalypse Barbecue, which sounds awesome. DVC. My friends at DVC. They're going to be doing a show this summer. I'm hopefully I might be involved. Method Machine.
They still do stuff every now and then.
Whoever.
Dave Henderson, they do. Then remember when Fringe Fest comes up?
I don't know what's going on. Shakespeare stuff's going on in the summer. I know that they're Shakespeare players doing Comedy of Errors this fall.
That's the one I saw at Shakespeare in the Park. Actually,
yeah, they did it a couple of times.
Well, we hope to have Mark Casey on sometime. He was busy today.
Yeah,
probably glad after hearing this he didn't show up. But you are welcome back, obviously, to talk the gaming thing and whatever you want. And the one thing we're not playing because we don't want to get sued, but if you've never heard it, when this comes out, I'll put it on our site. Richard Thompson, the British thing, he did Hamlet in less than 4 minutes of the song. So it's called Hamlet. He does the play in under 4 minutes.
So look for that in the comments section on Facebook.
Yay.
So we'll put that up when this episode comes out because we can't play it. He'd sue our ass.
Yeah, I don't need that.
You don't need that.
But otherwise, it's been fun. The play's been the thing. And let's go fly home to Rochester from England now.
Yeah, 063.
My arms are going to be tired.
On that one, we'll see you later.